The night Mama died, it rained so hard that the roof almost flew off. I remember it clearly because I was hiding under the old mango tree behind our compound, barefoot and soaked. I couldn't cry inside the house. If I did, they would beat me. They said I was pretending. They said I was too soft. But that night, under the tree, I let it all out. My chest hurt so much, like something heavy was sitting on it. Cry all you want, I whispered to myself, because nobody in that house cares if you cry. And truly, they didn't. My stepmother, Mama Doris, wore a red blouse the next morning and danced around the kitchen like nothing had happened. Your mother is gone, she said, pointing a long finger in my face. If you think this house belongs to you, you better think again. That was the beginning of everything falling apart. From that day, I became the housemaid. No, even worse, because at least housemaids are paid. I cooked, swept, fetched water from the stream, and still got slapped for not doing it well enough. I ate leftovers, slept on the cold floor, and wore my dead mother's old wrappers to school. My father. He sat quietly in the corner of the room every night, sipping palm wine and pretending not to see. Sometimes I would stare at him for long minutes, hoping he'd meet my eyes. Hoping he would remember that I was his only child. He never did. School was no better. My stepsister, Linda, made sure of that. She sat behind me in class and always kicked my chair. She would whisper cruel names into my ear: bush girl, motherless rat, useless goat. The worst part. Everyone joined her. Even the teachers turned a blind eye. The villagers called me Ajuka, which means the cursed one. They said I brought bad luck. They said I was the reason my mother died. I started avoiding people. I walked with my head down, eyes on the red earth beneath my feet. I stopped talking in class. I stopped hoping. At night, I would sneak out to the mango tree again. It was the only place that didn't hate me. The branches hung low like arms trying to hug me. I talked to the tree sometimes. I would say, if you can hear me, just fall one mango. Just one. Sometimes it did. That was how I knew the tree loved me. But trees can't feed you. They can't protect you from beatings or save you from pain. And I was tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of waking up to sorrow. Tired of being invisible. One day, something inside me snapped. Linda had poured dirty water on my only white school uniform. My stepmother laughed. Even my father chuckled. That night, as everyone slept, I stood by the door, one wrapper tied around my chest, a small nylon bag in my hand. I looked at them one last time. And I left. No money. No plan. Just the moonlight, the sound of frogs, and my bare feet on the dusty path out of that place. I didn't know where I was going. But I knew one thing for sure. Anywhere was better than there. The road was long, quiet, and full of strange sounds. Crickets sang in the bushes, and the trees whispered as the wind passed through them. I kept walking, one foot in front of the other, my nylon bag tied tightly in my hand like it carried my whole life. I had no shoes. Just slippers with holes. The ground was cold, and every small stone felt like it wanted to punish me for running away. But I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. If I went back, they would never let me leave again. I didn't even want to imagine what Mama Doris would do to me. The night was dark, but the moon followed me like a friend. Sometimes I talked to it. I don't know where I'm going, moon, I said out loud. But if you can hear me, please don't leave me. It didn't answer. But it stayed above me. That was enough. I walked for hours. My legs were shaking. My lips were dry. I was hungry and tired, but I didn't want to lie down on the ground and close my eyes. I was afraid I might never open them again. By the time the sky started to turn gray with morning, I had reached a small village. I didn't know the name, but it looked quiet. There were small mud houses, some with thatched roofs. Smoke was rising from a few kitchens. The smell of burning firewood filled the air. I saw a woman sweeping in front of her house. She looked up when she saw me. Her eyes moved from my face to my feet, then to my nylon bag. She didn't smile. "Where are you coming from this early?" she asked, resting her broom on the wall. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. What would I even say? She looked at me again and shook her head. "Go back to where you're coming from," she said. "We don't know you here." I turned away quickly, my heart sinking. I walked through the village, hoping someone else would look kinder. I saw a young man cutting firewood. I greeted him. He didn't answer. I saw children playing with sand. One of them laughed when he saw me. "She looks like a ghost," he shouted. I wanted to disappear. Then I saw a small church at the end of the road. It looked old but peaceful. I walked there and sat on the steps. My stomach growled. My head ached. A few minutes later, the church door opened. An old woman came out. Her head was tied with a faded blue scarf. Her eyes were soft and kind. "My child," she said, "you've been crying." I nodded. She walked closer and sat beside me. She didn't ask me where I came from. She didn't ask what happened to me. She just said, "Come inside. You need rest." I followed her in. The church smelled like old wood and soap. She gave me water to drink and a piece of dry bread. I ate like someone who had never seen food before. After I finished, she smiled and touched my cheek. "You are safe now," she said. That was the first time in many years that someone made me feel like I mattered. I wanted to cry again. But this time, it wasn't because I was sad. It was because I felt a small light in my heart. I slept on a small mat at the back of the church that night. It was hard, but it felt better than the cold floor back home. The old woman gave me a wrapper to cover myself. It smelled like soap and peace. When I woke up, sunlight was coming through the small window. I stretched slowly, my body sore but warm. For a few seconds, I forgot everything. Then it all came rushing back: Momo's death, Linda's bullying, my father's silence, the name-calling in the village. My heart became heavy again. The door creaked open. It was the old woman. "You're awake," she said, smiling. I sat up and greeted her softly. "Good morning, Ma." She walked over and sat beside me. "My name is Mama F. What's yours?" I hesitated. I had not heard my name spoken kindly in a long time. "I'm Adana," I said. She nodded. "Adana. Beautiful name. It means father's daughter, doesn't it?" I looked away. "Yes, but my father, he doesn't care." Mama F didn't ask me to explain. She just stood up and said, "Come. Let's go to the stream. You need to bathe and wash your face. You look like someone who has fought many battles." She was right. I had. We walked together. The path to the stream was quiet and green. Birds were singing. The morning sun made everything look golden. At the stream, I bent down and scooped water into my hands. It was cold and fresh. I washed my face slowly, like I was wiping away all the pain. Mama F gave me a small piece of soap. "Use this," she said. As I bathed, I noticed my reflection in the water. My eyes looked tired. My skin had lost its glow. But I was still here. Still breathing. That meant something. On our way back, she stopped at a small farm beside the road. "This is mine," she said, pointing at the green plants. "I plant vegetables. I sell some and eat some." She bent down and plucked a few leaves. "Come help me." You can earn your food by working here. I was surprised. Really? You'll let me stay? She smiled. Only if you promise not to run away again. People like you, who carry silent pain, they need rest. My eyes filled with tears again. I wiped them quickly. I promise, I said. That day, I helped her wash vegetables. We cooked together. We talked about little things, about food, the weather, the birds. For the first time in a long while, I smiled. Later that evening, as we sat under a tree behind the church, she gave me something, a small wrapper with flowers on it. This one is yours now, she said. I held it to my chest like it was gold. That night, I lay on the mat again, this time with peace in my heart. Maybe life wasn't done with me yet. Maybe there was still something good waiting for me out there. And just maybe, this was the beginning of everything changing. Every morning with Mama F felt like a quiet miracle. She didn't have much, but she shared everything with me, her food, her room, her stories, and most importantly, her time. It was the first time in a long while someone treated me like I was more than a burden. We would wake up early. She would light a fire behind the church and warm water for tea. Sometimes, it was just hot water and lemon leaves. Other times, if she had money, she bought small tins of milk and sugar. You must drink something warm, she'd say. It clears the sadness from your chest. And truly, it did. She told me she had no children of her own. God gave me this old church instead, she laughed once, pointing at the faded building. And now He has given me you. Those words stayed in my heart. I began helping more around the church and the farm. I swept the floor, washed plates, watered the vegetables, and carried them to the market with her. Some days, I followed her to pray for sick people in the village. I liked how people respected her. They called her Mama Prayer. They would bow slightly when they saw her and say, God bless you, Mama. Sometimes I wanted to ask them, why didn't you bless me too when I first came here? But I didn't. I was just grateful to be beside someone who made me feel safe. One evening, after we came back from the market, Mama F handed me a small polythene bag. I opened it and saw a brown dress inside. It was old, but it was clean and better than anything I had worn in months. It's for you, she said. You can't keep wearing your wrapper to church. You are becoming a young woman. I almost cried. Thank you, Mama, I whispered, hugging the dress to my chest. That Sunday, I wore the dress to church. It reached just below my knees and had tiny flowers sewn near the shoulder. I combed my hair neatly and even used the black powder she gave me to smooth my face. When I walked into the church, people stared. Some smiled. A few nodded. And one person looked at me a little longer than the rest. He was sitting in the second row, beside the window. He had on a light blue shirt and was holding a hymn book. His skin was brown, like roasted groundnut, and his eyes looked serious, but soft. When our eyes met, he didn't look away. I quickly lowered my head and walked to sit beside Mama F. Who is he? I whispered. She leaned in and whispered back, that's Obina. His father is the village carpenter. Obina is a tailor. He helps out with youth meetings in the church. I nodded slowly, trying not to look again. But my heart beat a little faster. Nobody had looked at me like that in a long time. Or maybe ever. Later that night, as I lay on the mat with my new dress folded beside me, I thought about his eyes again. Not the way he stared, but the way he didn't laugh, didn't whisper, didn't look through me. He looked at me like I was a person. And that simple thing felt like a beginning. A very quiet beginning. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the mosquitoes or the heat, no. It was because of Obina. His face kept dancing in my mind like firelight. I kept replaying that moment in church, the way his eyes met mine like they were searching for something or someone. I told myself to stop thinking about him. Boys like him didn't look twice at girls like me. Especially not girls with scars hidden under their smiles and second-hand dresses. But still, I thought of him. The next morning, I went with Mama F to the stream. I was carrying 2 buckets, and she was carrying firewood on her head. We laughed as we walked, the sound of our slippers slapping the dusty path. It felt like peace. We were halfway there when I saw him again. Obinna. He was pushing a wheelbarrow full of fabric down the road. His shirt was damp with sweat, and a red tape measure hung around his neck. He stopped when he saw us. "Good morning, Mama F," he greeted, smiling. She returned his greeting. "Obinna, you're out early." "Yes, Ma," he replied. "I have a delivery to make in Umuokoro. A customer is getting married next week." Then he looked at me. His eyes held mine for a second too long. "Good morning," he said to me. I blinked, shocked. "Me?" "Good morning," I replied, almost whispering. He smiled. "Your dress fits you well. Did Mama sew it for you?" I felt my face heat up. "No. I mean, yes, she gave it to me. It suits you." Before I could say anything else, he pushed his wheelbarrow and walked away. I stood still for a moment, staring at his back until he disappeared down the road. Mama F turned to me slowly, smiling like someone who had caught a thief. She said. "So, Obinna now notices things like dresses." I looked away, pretending not to hear. But my heart was beating fast. That small moment meant something to me. I didn't know why, but it made my chest feel light. It had been so long since anyone, not even my own father, had said something kind to me without expecting something in return. Obinna's words weren't just a compliment. They were a gift. After we returned from the stream, I couldn't concentrate. I spilled water while cooking. I forgot to add salt to the soup. My hands trembled while slicing vegetables. Mama F watched me with soft amusement. "Adana," she called finally, "do you know what I see when I look at you?" I shook my head. "I see a flower that has been stepped on, but somehow, it's still growing." I blinked back tears. "I don't know what brought you here," she continued, "but I know one thing, your story is not over." Later that day, as I swept the floor of the church, I found a small piece of paper stuck under one of the benches. I picked it up and opened it. Inside, written in neat handwriting, were 5 words. "You smiled today." "Thank you." No name. But I already knew who it was from. Obinna. And just like that, the seed of something small, something soft, was planted in my heart. Was this what it felt like, to be seen? For the first time in a long while, I laughed. Not just a small smile or a fake chuckle to please someone. I laughed from my stomach. The kind of laugh that shakes your shoulders and makes you forget all the sadness locked inside you. It happened 3 days after I found that note. Obinna started coming around the church more often. Sometimes, he claimed he was checking if Mama F needed anything fixed. A nail here. A window there. But we all knew the truth. He was coming to see me. Mama F would pretend to be busy anytime he came. She'd hum one of her old gospel songs and say things like, "Oh, let me check the yam behind the house," even when there was no yam. And Obinna. He'd wait outside, tapping his foot gently, pretending to look at the clouds. That day, he came with a small sewing machine strapped to the back of his bicycle. "I want to repair your wrapper," he said. I raised my brow. "What's wrong with it?" "The corner is torn. I saw it last Sunday." "Let me fix it." I laughed and folded my arms. "So now you inspect people's clothes in church?" He smiled. "Only when the person wearing it makes the whole room light up." I looked away quickly. He unpacked the machine and began walking under the mango tree beside the church. I sat nearby, watching him. He talked while he walked. He told me about his dreams of owning a big tailoring shop in the city. He said he wanted to learn fashion design and open a place where people could come not just to sew clothes but to feel good about themselves. Clothes carry stories, he said, threading the needle with focus. Some people wear pain every day and hide it under their shirts. But if I can give someone a beautiful cloth, maybe I can help them tell a new story. I watched him, amazed. He spoke with passion, like he believed in the magic of small things. Then he told me a story about how he once mistakenly sewed a man's trousers backward, and the man wore it to the village meeting before noticing. I burst out laughing. Loud, unfiltered laughter. I covered my mouth, but it was too late. He looked up at me, smiling wide. That's the sound I was waiting for. What sound? That one you just made. The real you. And just like that, I felt something shift inside me. It was like a small locked door in my chest had creaked open a little. We didn't talk about love. Not yet. But something was growing between us. Something warm. Something careful. Later that evening, as the sun began to set and the sky turned orange, Obinna handed me my wrapper. It was neatly stitched. I held it in my hands and smiled. Thank you. He nodded, wiping his hands on his cloth. You're welcome, Adana. Then he rode off on his bicycle, waving once before disappearing down the dusty road. I stood there for a while, wrapper in hand, heart beating differently. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't invisible anymore.